May I please call on stage Mustasan Jalil Bashrat, Mir Group Chief Legal Counsel, Burjeel Holdings, Shailendra Jindal, Founder and MD, Skill Travel, Vishesh Khurana, Co-Founder Shiprocket, and Upasana Bora, Co-Founder Droom. And in fact, to moderate this panel, I would request Aditya Rajkol to please join us back here on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. A very important discussion that we have been deliberating in our drawing rooms and boardrooms about startup culture and also the Indian startup arena, which has now witnessed a steady growth. There was a time when many startups were leaving India and settling abroad in US, in many other countries. But now there is a reverse flipping that's been noticed and that's been happening for some time. And there's a growing number of Indian startups that are now emerging, and there are investments that have been happening, but there have been regulatory hurdles also. But there are others who say that the market seems to be shifting in many ways. What are the kind of opportunities that are there? And at the same time, how do we strengthen and accelerate the Dubai-Delhi corridor for the startup ecosystem? Let's explore these opportunities and try to know how we can push this further. I can now begin with Mustasan to understand how is Dubai or UAE emerging as a hub of ecosystem of startups, especially when we speak about the regulatory challenges. What are the kind of hurdles that one faces, and how do we try to build on this Dubai-Delhi corridor?
Thank you so much. So in Dubai, the ease of business is very advanced compared to most of the countries. That's why we have seen a global shift in economics from London to Dubai, from US to Dubai. We are at par, and by we I mean Dubai. We are at par with Singapore, Tokyo, and all the other big economies of the world. And Dubai is emerging as a strong currency, and Dubai is emerging as one of the most sought-after destinations globally where people want to settle, develop businesses. So in Dubai, as an example, if you just Google how to create an entity in Dubai, you will see advertisements create an entity within 60 seconds as well. I don't know how realistic that is, but from a realistic point of view, I have done startup incorporations in Dubai in a matter of 2 hours. Be it with regulators, which are in free zones, or whether mainland entities. In terms of developing a linkage between Delhi and Dubai, this is something that needs to be resonated back home in Delhi. Ease of doing business has to be there, leverage has to be there, fast tracking of unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles has to be there, which is an advantage in Dubai. So if the same model is replicated in Delhi, we're doing it here, definitely we can do it back home as well.
Wonderful. Vishesh, if I can come to you now. We in India know you as the man behind Shiprocket, but we also know you that you handle a lot of venture capitalist portfolios and are looking strongly at the India market. When we again see this regulation, and one of the key factors for several of these startups is the ease of doing business. When we speak about ease of doing business, what can India perhaps learn or imbibe from the culture that has been established in UAE?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think for me, it's like the first 3 months in Dubai. While I'm trying to set up few things here, the first thing I learned in terms of ease of business was the digitization. So the processes from setting up a company, I'm working with ADGM on a lot of things. I don't really have to be physically present for so many processes, which in India you still have to do that physical wet signatures. Even things like simple like lease. I just signed a lease a couple of hours back while I was sitting here. The digitization is helping amazingly fast. The other is the incentive programs that they offer. I think there's a lot of incentives for everyone in the regulatory side to actually help you and make your life easy and fast, which is, yes, one thing we can definitely take back and in terms of adoption. It's been a great experience for me in terms of how my interactions with the regulators have been. It's never scary. They definitely reach out. And in fact, they are following up. Do you need something else? Because it's in their incentives to help us get this up and running. Yeah, those are a few things. My first I had an experience on setting up the fund here, setting up a company. Even as Shiprocket goes public, I'm thinking of setting up the family office side here. While India gives you scale, I think Dubai gives you the global access that I need to take the money and invest outside India as well.
Right. Shailendra, you are in the travel sector, and there's a boom that's been happening in travel in India, abroad in several countries, in UAE, setting a benchmark in many ways. And post-pandemic, there was this travel with a vengeance that was really happening. Is that something that you completely agree with and have been witnessing? And especially, when we speak about the experiential market of traveling, and you've been creating a benchmark in India in terms of catering to perhaps the 100 richest families, experiencing perhaps UAE in a very different way than an ordinary person would. How do you see this emerging, and how do we build this between India and UAE?
Yeah. So first, coming to post-COVID, which we all know was a very difficult period for the entire travel industry. And I think we say God is there, so it bounced back. It helped people realize that dreams have to be fulfilled. And to fulfill dreams, you need to get out of your house or move out of your house to, get to better places, more developed places, and countries and cities like Dubai who's supporting the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem. So from when business travel takes seat, business means growth for any economy. Today, our country, which is India, Dubai, UAE, are all growth driven. It's all the mind space which has been re-engineered towards growth. So today when we talk about growth, growth comes from top and the bottom. So young population, people who strive to create a difference in their life, that's what makes them different in today's day and age. So today youngsters are encouraged by the experienced professionals to come out and innovate. So while they want to innovate today, even in travel or other spaces connected to travel, I will also touch a few points there. It is important to realize that without technology, without innovation hubs like the IFC and Abu Dhabi Hub 71, today it's not easy. Indian government is also doing everything possible to support the young startups ecosystem. Now, let's take simple. E-visa was not that popular before COVID. So post-COVID, we see many countries adapting to e-visa. Post that as well. Now, if you see airports, now you see DigiYatra, which is one of its kind in India. So today people can zip through the security checks of India. Now even the immigration is following that. Dubai, if you see the smart gates, most of the countries today are adapting to digital, smart, innovative, transformations to make their citizens, travelers' life easy and in other aspects of life. Now coming to the second point about experiential travel. So yes, we all have realized more than before that it's one life. So people who understand the value of limited access experience, that's what I call it, are going for it, are thriving for it, are seeking for it. No more is a first class travel or a luxury suite counted as a greater experience. So people want to consume the impossible. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean putting your life at risk. It is about creating that unique environment or the unique opportunity to access the limited access or, the very few who could access as a privilege. That's what it is.
Upasana, coming to you, I have just one question for you. Tell us the secret of the room story to the people. And you've been coming to Dubai very often. You're a strategic advisor. You are, of course, an investor, but you're also an architect. So how does an architect visualize more of this collaboration, a corridor that can be set up? And again, as I asked Vishesh, the ease of doing business. And as an investor, as somebody who's in the thick of things, what would be your suggestions to the respective governments in New Delhi, in Abu Dhabi, to perhaps handhold startups, handhold people, and create regulations that are friendly to the startups really build that environment?
Thank you so much for the question, Aditya. So let's talk about some numbers. India has approximately 156,000 startups, 120 unicorns, 500 sonicorns, and then 30 new age IPOs. And we've generated approximately or close to $500 billion wealth from these startups. And these are all led by first generation entrepreneurs in the past 20 years. So if UAE and India join hands or collaborate for this startup revolution, I believe there's an unparalleled cross-pollination that's going to happen. Now, talking about the UAE-India corridor, it started as a very humble passage where the blue-collared workers came to the Gulf for opportunity, and gold and remittances flew back to our homeland. And, today, while we talk about, the UAE-India corridor, we have around 4 million Indians that live in the UAE, which account for almost 35% of its population. Most of them are still in the essential service sectors like your services and construction. But when I'm talking about the remittances, they are mighty. So we received $125 billion in 2023, and UAE itself accounted for 18 to 19% of it in totality, which makes it the second largest after the US. And, everybody was talking about the AI before our panel. So UAE has committed $6.6 billion for AI initiatives, their national AI strategy being one of them. And then they've also invested a lot in the LLMs. And after the SEPA, bond between India and UAE, a lot of investment is flowing in the IT sectors here. And I know all of us here in the panel and in the audience, we love to shop from the supermarkets when we come to the UAE. And we know that the UPI payment is accepted there. So this shows the deep integration, like the financial integration. So for me, what I believe is this is not just a corridor of commerce. This is a friendship for the future. And if we co-authorize it, then we're definitely going to get a very smarter, inclusive, and a globally connected, tomorrow. Yeah.
Fair enough. You spoke about the financial integration. So I want to come to Vishesh once again. We know about the UPI, and we know about the financial, digital system that is in place in UAE as well. Do you think perhaps that there could be an instant payment infrastructure that would be developed together by these countries? And also, at the same time, could we expect, fintech startups and MSMEs building that product?
For me, personal experience again, we have a product in Shiprocket, the fintech vertical, the lending vertical. And UAE comes with the attractive debt. I think we're still yet to figure out how do we get that attractive debt with the right conversion back home. And if that works out, I think there's a strong partnership to be held there from a purely debt fund standpoint, given that rates and interest rates are super attractive here. The other thing I've seen is, you said instant payments. Instant payments, I think UAE, India both have, globally, I think both these countries have already gone a step ahead in banking, for sure. The digital banking infrastructure, both in India and UAE, is amazing. I've worked on both sides, and there's the UPI format, I think, definitely can work in UAE. I'm still struggling with the instant payment while I've been here, the transfer of money. But yeah, that's one opportunity that we can definitely take back from India, bring it back to UAE in terms of instant payment, P2P payments.
Mustasan, coming to you again about the India-UAE collaboration. Would there be perhaps in the next 5 or 6 years an India-UAE startup fund, perhaps? And what role can the comprehensive economic partnership that has been achieved 3 years ago between India and UAE play in this particular sector?
Definitely there can be a sovereign wealth fund or any kind of wealth fund, a PE or a VC, whatever we call it, that can be established between the two countries, and that can look at potential investments and grow businesses. There's tremendous potential in India, as we all know. But on the regulatory side, there has to be a huge alignment. Like my colleagues here said on the panel, Doing business here is much easier. A regulatory function is minimally bureaucratic. I'll give you an example. You go and buy a property now, go to DLD, say you're in at 10 o'clock, you get your title deed by 11:30 at best, you're served coffee. 11:30 you walk out with the title deed in your SMS message. You are not given a hard copy. So that's where India has to reach. And this is something very easy for us to do because we are technologically very advanced. For UAE, it would have been an issue to commence this process, but for India, it's comparatively much easier. We are an English-speaking nation, first of all. That's a huge advantage that we have globally. So time to capitalize it.
Right. Shailendra,
sorry, I can actually add to that.
Yeah.
Same thing. You said the fund, the UAE India Startup Fund. We're actually working with, there's a strong interest from the sovereigns around. From Shiprocket side, I've seen a lot of e-commerce brands now coming to Dubai. There's one part of course, the market in Dubai and UAE. But Dubai is also a zone where you can export out of easily.
Right.
So there's a strong interest between, we're actually working on this one model, given we have a lot of data about all e-commerce brands. There is already proven use cases, successful use cases with Mama, Boat, and a lot of brands coming here and being successful. So we're working on that one fund where the sovereigns wants to invest and bring these brands back from India and outside and let them go global from there. So already, I think I'm working on one of those, so for sure.
Fair enough. Shailendra, on the travel aspect, one of the key factors in several areas, particularly in UAE context, has been the role of the Indian diaspora. And this morning, the ambassador and the Consul General reflected on that, on the very crucial 4.6 million population, out of which 35% are professionals, businessmen, and those in the white-collar jobs. What role can the diaspora really play in this startup ecosystem? There are many youngsters that are coming up with brightest of the ideas, both in India as well as in UAE, and India has a young population. And of course, there are many countries, in particular in the Middle East, who are looking towards the investment opportunities down on ground in India. So what more can India do, and what can the diaspora do here to, bridge the gaps?
I think it's a great question. It's a constant battle. So today we talk about transparency. So money is there, opportunity is there, people are there. Now we need to build an ecosystem. We need to build a design platform where we can bring in transparency for the Indian diaspora who's sitting, waiting to motivate, to encourage the entrepreneur, the idea which is incubated in the Indian system. So today, the government, I believe, will play a significant role by guaranteeing, backing, both the governments to see how it's possible. There has to be a benchmark where you are able to take a calculated risk on the new businesses. So because today when businesses gets funding, it's not on one day you need the $1 million. They have a milestone-based funding. There could be a commitment. And then today it can be drawn. So you could have a professional board whenever there is money moving between country to country or the reverse. There could be a way and mechanism if Indian government or companies can come up and set up a system whereby there can be transparency achieved on the money's flow and how the money is being used. So today, the biggest fear all of us have is how is the money being used? And this is what is the difference I feel one can make. And once that transparency increases, across borders, I think money is waiting to flow because money is flowing. It's only wherever there is transparency, money flows there. If, it's natural to be protective about your hard-earned money. That's my view about this.
Okay, more transparency is the secret formula, but Upasana, coming again, I began by speaking about the reverse flipping. Do you think that there is any kind of a mindset change down on ground that has happened? Because when often we have spoken about Indian government, we've spoken about red tapeism, we've spoken about the long bureaucratic delays that happen. But over the last few years, there's been digitalization. There's been emphasis by the Prime Minister on Startup India, on several other aspects. They have tried at least to bridge the gaps and, have some innovative ideas out there. So do you see, as an investor, as somebody who's in the thick of action, some changes that have happened? And what more do you think that the government needs to do to protect the interests of the startups?
So, Aditya, I feel that, both the countries like UAE and India are emerging global leaders in when we talk about AI, fintech, smart logistics, and digital infrastructure. So I feel that, bonds like SEPA and the other things actually, give a lot of strength to the startup ecosystem overall. So the government has moved forward. I think even the UAE government and the Indian government both are working towards a collaborative approach so that a lot of cross-pollination happens here. And overall, I think that it's a great path, and we have a lot of investors like Tribe Capital itself that is investing a lot in brands like that. And before our panel, there were panels who were also talking about that, a lot of investment is flowing in, and maybe we see a lot of Indians building up startups here, like the startups emerging or the unicorns emerging out in Emirates. So I feel that it's powerful what's happening, yeah.
That's it. We're running out of time, but I have one last question for Mustasan. He's my country cousin, so I have to ask him.
Country brother.
Yes. So, Mustasan, there have been reports over the last few years that there are a lot of investments that are happening from UAE in Jammu and Kashmir. Is that happening? Is that a reality?
Well, something was happening with MR, and surprisingly, the head of sales of MR happened to be Kashmiri at that one time on a no-name basis. But I didn't see anything materialize on ground. Hopefully it happens. Like we say, inshallah.
Well, let's hope so. Inshallah, as we say that. Thank you very much to all of you for coming all the way here. Let's applaud them for the ideas that they gave. And thank you again. Hope to see you in Delhi again. Thanks.
I would request our panelists to please stay on. I would like to also invite Mr. Vikram, CEO, TV9 Network, to please felicitate our guests with the beautiful hamper that we have here. All right. Please begin. Yeah. Aditya, please help felicitating our guests. Thank you so much.